Welcome to the No Fun channel. I'm Felix, and this is sci-fi shows I think they should remake. Next up is RoboCop. Now, some of you may not realize there was a live-action RoboCop TV series based on RoboCop the movie. Now, it was based on the original RoboCop the movie, which came out July 17, 1987, starring Peter Weller and Nancy Allen. And there were two follow-up movies. Peter Weller was in the first and the second one, but he was not in the third one. Nancy appeared in all three. Now, with the success of RoboCop, there was also two animated series, one just called RoboCop and one called RoboCop Alpha Commando. Now, I feel like there was a third one, but I can't find anything on it. I remember there being more of an anime filled one, but I can't find it. And then there was a 4-part live-action miniseries called RoboCop Prime Directive. It starred Paige Fletcher as RoboCop and Maurice Dean Witt as the other RoboCop. Prime Directive was about building a new RoboCop that they had more control over, and surprise, it's his best friend. Now, the live-action TV show premiered March 18th, 1994, and ran until November 26, 1994. So it ran for one season, 22 episodes, counting the pilot. Alex Murphy / RoboCop was played by Richard Eden. Yvette Naper, I'm probably saying her last name wrong, played Detective Lisa Magden. The weird thing is that character was based on Nancy Allen character Ann Lewis. I'm not sure why they couldn't bring Ann Lewis over. Maybe there's some legal reasons. I don't know. But I always find it weird when they do that. And they did it with another character played by Blue Mancone. I'm butchering his last name. He plays Sergeant Stanley Parks. That character was based on Robert DeQ, character of Sergeant Warren Reed. And again, don't know why they didn't just use the name Sergeant Warren Reed, but they changed the name and went Stanley Parks. Sometimes when shows do that, they do it for silly reasons. A lot of times it has nothing to do with legal. It's just for whatever reason, they thought this name was better. Now in the show, it also had a kid in the show named Gadget, who was played by Sarah Campbell. She later gets adopted by Sergeant Parks. Now, the live action, at the time I didn't realize it, was aimed at families and kids, which explains a lot. There wasn't really a lot of dark things going on. They did have some murders here and there, but they focused around the CEO learning a lesson, basically, at the end of the show, which now makes a lot more sense why they were doing that. Then in 2014, they did a remake starring Joel Kinnaman, I'm probably saying his name wrong, as RoboCop, Gary Oldman, Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson, and Abby Cornish. Oh my God, I'm messing up names. Cornish. But I did watch the movie. Personally, I wasn't a fan of it. I felt they did too much. From my understanding, though, it did make back its money, but I'm assuming it didn't make enough money back because they never made a follow-up to it. Now, as for bringing back this show, I've thought of a couple different ways, actually. The first off is the character of Sergeant Parks. You could do it like a Gotham style. Go back, you follow Sergeant Parks all the way up until he gets to Detroit and becomes Sergeant Parks. You could also do it from, and this time actually, you know what? I said Sergeant Parks. We could, like I said, if there's no legal reasons, we could actually make the character Sergeant Reed again. But either way, follow the sergeant up to the point he's the desk commander in Detroit, and his whole career. And they, like I said, they can do it like Gotham. Gotham, I think, went on for 5 seasons. So if the writing is there, they could have a good show. Take a side character and run with it, and there's so much they can do because there's no backstory, so they can create whatever they want with that character. And then there's Ann Lewis. They could take that character, do the same thing. They could show her from the police academy all the way till she's, becomes RoboCop's partner. And a third option is they can follow Alex. Same thing. They can follow him from where he gets married, where he has his kid, all the way up until he becomes RoboCop. And then let's say hypothetically they decide to do all three, and all three are hits. Then they could create RoboCop, the new TV series, and base it on that. And they wouldn't even have to really borrow anything from the movie because they can create their own new lore of RoboCop. Now, one of the problems I had with the 2014 RoboCop is, again, I felt like they were doing too much. I think even though we have the CGI and all that stuff today, they should definitely keep it simple. They shouldn't have him being able to do anything too outrageous. Maybe have him be able to run at a little faster pace, because the slow walking RoboCop was comical to me. So, obviously update the suit here and there. There's some things they could do. Now, one of the things I did like about the original over the 2014 remake is the personality of RoboCop. I definitely think they should keep the personality of RoboCop from the first one. For whatever reason, I feel like Peter Weller did a better job with the personality for RoboCop. It just fit. How's that put? I relate it better with that character. And I like the fact that as far as the world was concerned, Alex Murphy was dead. And this machine / cyborg, half human, half machine, had to come to terms with the fact that his old life was gone. In the remake, he was still able to interact with his family, which to me kind of took away from it. They were still trying to have him be human, when in reality he's no longer human. And I think that's one of the aspects of the RoboCop I liked about it. That he was no longer human, he was more machine than human. And I think they should have just went with that for the remake. But they didn't. They were trying to do something new. I get that, but for me, it just didn't hit. And I definitely think if they were to redo the TV show, they should definitely stick with the format of the first one. And like I said, you could do prequels leading up to RoboCop. Then you could have RoboCop, and they could even do it all in season 1. Like season 1 could kind of be the prequel. Season 2, he's RoboCop, and definitely don't try to gear it towards families. I don't know what the deal was with the live action show and the animated shows. They were all geared towards children and family. Now the miniseries was not. The miniseries tried to go back to that dark feeling, but again, it was on the Sci-Fi Network, and like I said, for syndicated stuff, for stuff like that back then, it was okay not to put your best foot forward for acting. But yeah, I definitely would go with that dark feel of the first one. Maybe we can go a little darker with it. I wouldn't go too much darker. I wouldn't try to go too perverted with it either. One thing I would definitely lose is commercials. Maybe have them every now and again, but the first RoboCop had that over-the-top commercials in them. I would ditch those, but definitely, I think that would be the way to go if they were going to bring it back. Whole new cast, whole new group of actors. Now, they could filter in people who were in all those different RoboCops throughout, in the background, main character, extras, whatever. But I would definitely go with the whole new cast, start over, fresh. Because there's a lot about RoboCop I think they could have done with that live action if they just taken the reins off and just gone for it. And they missed a golden opportunity, in my opinion. So, and like I said, I already thought about 3 sequels they could do. And then in the second RoboCop movie, they brought the drug dealer Silas. And they could introduce him sooner than later. They could introduce us to a young Cyrus? Is it Silas or Cyrus? I can't remember. But they could introduce that character sooner than later. And what they can do is show how he got to where he was. And how he became the drug kingpin, basically, the drug lord that everyone was afraid of. So they could build up to him becoming the other, I guess, I forget what they called him. We'll just say the other RoboCop. And then if the show is successful and it's still going on, they could introduce a second RoboCop, sort of like Prime Directive, and kind of even reference the 2014 movie in the sense that the new RoboCop has more personality. They allowed the RoboCop to retain more of its personality, more of its life. that could be a conflict right there. Like the first RoboCop's like, what the hell, why does he get to keep it all? But I think it would be interesting for them to try to do another live action RoboCop. I did enjoy watching the live action RoboCop, but I also knew they were holding way back on it. Because it came out in 87. I don't forgot what I said it came out in. But yeah, when it came out, no, it's 94. So I was 94. Oh, I was a senior. No, I would have graduated because it was March of 94 into November. So I was a senior graduating in 94. Let's tell you how old I am. But, so yeah, because I thought about maybe even picking up, where the first one left off. But the thing with that is not a lot of people have seen the original. And that's why I think they should retell the story. Most of the people who probably be watching this weren't even born yet. So they could just retell the story. Because the original came out in 87. And a lot of millennials and zennials and Zs haven't seen it. So there's that. So basically in the end, I would do 3 prequels or somehow incorporate it into like the season of like the first season, building up to him becoming RoboCop, and then go from there. Now, they wouldn't necessarily have to follow that storyline of the movies. They can create their own characters once they establish. I would definitely make those the 3 main characters and go from there. But again, with that Cyrus character, that would be interesting too. They could have him woven throughout. Somehow he's connected all 3. He doesn't even realize he's connected all 3. And it's never like really brought up again kind of thing, but it just kind of, he's somehow interacted with them in their past. Whether they could do another indirect, like indirectly they could do it indirectly, like he interacted with them. He doesn't know it, they don't know it, but things he did caused things to happen to them, and vice versa. And that's also another thing where with the prequels, they can have them overlapping where something that Alex did affected something that Anne's doing, that affected something the Sergeant's doing. And, their stories are interwoven, but yet they still don't meet. They still don't cross paths. They know nothing about each other. Just they hear about a cop somewhere, a cop did this, and that's why we were able to do this sort of thing. But, yeah, I definitely would like to see RoboCop come back. I want to see a live action TV show, RoboCop. So if anyone has the power to make that happen, hey, let's make a live action RoboCop. Don't hold back on the writing and the acting. Definitely hold back on him being able to jump really high and stuff. I mean, I understand they were trying to give him, he's supposed to have more abilities than a normal human. I get that. But I think don't go too far with it. Still have him be able to run. Maybe not as fast as a car. Have him be able to jump. Like enhanced abilities kind of deal. Or, I mean, they could go that route. Do the faster running and all that. I think if they keep the personalities were messed up for me on the 2014 one. But they should definitely not have him fly. Ditch that aspect, because he's supposed to just be a cop on the ground. So let him be a cop on the ground, moving around on the ground, being able to shoot really good. But yeah, let's try to get another RoboCop TV series and really go for it this time. That's my take on remaking RoboCop, the TV series. You guys have a nice day.